Namaste Krishna Rao garu. Welcome to IYRTalks English edition and special budget talk. The final presentation on this 23rd July of 2024 has been made by Nirmala Seetaraman garu. The 7th budget presentation is a record also, and there are a lot of expectations from different because it's a national budget from different corners of the country, and she has taken into consideration the demands of alien partners also in an indirect way, and but overall they just try to take the slogan of Vikasit Bharat by giving priority to agriculture, education, employment creation and women empowerment. These are the things basically broadly she has concentrated, and also a little rational changes in taxation of incomes, which I think there is an immediate resentment from the stock market quarters, because long-term capital gains has been increased from 10 to 12.5% and short-term capital gain from 15 to 20%. And of course, the rate slab of other class assets of other than shares been reduced from 20 to 12.4% without by not considering the indexation cost. But for that and a little change in the taxation for individuals, whereby the maximum benefit that comes to a person is 18,500 rupees per annum. What do you think in overall the budget presented by Nirmala Seetaraman?
Yeah, one thing is, from the interim budget to the full budget, as we discussed before also, before the presentation of the budget, two things were the new changes which could have impacted the budget. One was the 2 lakh crores of dividend given by the RBI. Second, everybody thought BJP would come back to power on its own, but today, when the actual elections took place, it's now dependent on two regional allies, one from Bihar and one from Andhra. One, where will that 2 lakh crores go? Infrastructure or something else? How will the alliance partners going to impact the government at Delhi? These are the two imponderables at the time of the presentation of the final budget which was presented today. One, as far as the 2 lakh crores of dividend that came from the RBI, it has not gone into capital expenditure, because interim budget itself, the capital expenditure was 11 lakh crores. They have just retained that 11 lakh crores as the capital expenditure in the main budget also. Of course, taking into consideration the grants given to the states for capital expenditure, which also goes for capital expenditure, effective capital expenditure is about 15 lakh crores. That was the same even in the interim budget as well as in the final budget. Where has this 2 lakh crores of additional dividend given by RBI gone? In all probability, it has gone into that focus area of employment generation, because that they have taken it as a major issue to focus on is employment generation, skilling, employment generation, and giving out in the first month salary or something, apprenticeship stipend and all these things. They have substantially made provisions in the budget. So that's as far as the 2 lakh crores which has come from the RBI is concerned. Second, what is the overall influence of the regional partners in influencing the budget? Even there, I think It's minimum, not much, because the budget looks to be a continuity of what is going on for the last 10 years. It's not a major shift from what it was in the interim budget. All that seems to have happened, as we discussed earlier also. We were discussing this exactly on the same lines. Both Bihar and Andhra may be accommodated in terms of greater capital expenditure. That's exactly what seems to have happened. Because Bihar, they have announced a lot of national highways and others on a large scale. For Andhra, Amaravati is getting a grant of about 15,000 crores, which in all probability, that's also a capital expenditure. It's not a revenue expenditure because it has to be spent on roads, infrastructure, etc. for the town. So both ways, it has not really impacted because neither of them has got some huge cash grants, except of course they promised one backward area grant for Andhra, the details of which we need to know. What is the amount and how much is going to come out as part of that. Beyond that, nothing else has come in terms of the thing. So the budget is quite balanced. Out of the, of course, food subsidy and fertilizer subsidy, it has not increased. Every year, year on year, it keeps on increasing. This year, there is a slight decrease. I think both put together about 4 lakh crores to 3.80 lakh crores. It has come about 20,000 crores or so. There is a slight decrease there.
Because at the same time, they want to give fillip to the natural farming.
Natural farming and also fillip to production of oil seeds and pulses, which we are today importing. But what exactly is the action plan for it and how much they are going to spend, we'll have to see it in the details. One thing is education and health. There is an increase. I mean, I think 77 to 87,000 crores and things like that, but not substantial. That's an area which needs a real focus. I think you will have to cut down on the subsidies and divert that amount to this social infrastructure, both health and education. Then only, because human resource development is very, very important thing. As the economy goes up, you need people with skills, with proper degrees to come and take over the job. That can only happen if there is substantial investment in human resource development as well as in health. These two areas, I think there's need for stepping up. That needs to be definitely looked into, because how do you rationalize the subsidies, save there and divert it to these two? Of course, MGNRA, there is a substantial increase, which is a good thing, rural employment generation scheme, because whole focus is on employment generation. But this idea of cash subsidy to generate employment may not really work out. If you are thinking of employment, you should think of how do you, create an atmosphere where growth with employment happens. That can happen with small scale sector, MSMEs and things like that. How do you regulate or to some extent not allow them to grow beyond a point, these big companies, because they are not great employment generators. In fact, even America also this discussion is going on in terms of make America great again. I mean, the Republicans, one of the theme on which they are working is the big enterprises, multinationals are not to the advantage of the country, because they have their supply chains across the world, and to that extent they don't create employment within the country. So same thing is happening in India also, because somewhere I read for 1 lakh of rupees or something that is spent, or 1 crore of rupees, the amount of employment generation is the minimum in Reliance, about 3 or so. So that type of a growth is not good for the country. So how do you encourage industries which create more employment? Of course, now they want to link up this PLI type of a scheme in terms of the employment generation, good, but it can't be through cash subsidy. It has to be in terms of a overall environment which takes care of employment. That's what needs to be focused. It's a good budget. It's a continuing budget. Let's see. In all the fiscal deficit which they have projected earlier in the interim budget at 5.1% of the GDP, they have now
Brought it down.
scaling it down to 4.9, next year to 4.5, which is a good thing. And also revenue deficit. Revenue deficit is also drastically going down, which is a good thing because that much extra money is available for capital expenditure. So overall, this, in my view, is a good budget.
Thank you, sir.